Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday, July the 28th, 2022. It's another Technical Alpha podcast. Thank you for stopping by. If you're here with us live, thank you for continuing to listen to us. If you're on the RSS feeds, as always, got a great show lined up for you today after a week off. I hope you guys didn't get bored sitting in traffic, possibly dying of heat stroke, or both at the same time, because both very possible here in the last 7 days in a number of places, not just here, but also all over the place. Holy crap. Everything is on fire. But yeah, we got another great show lined up for you today. Before we get started, as always, got the most important question of the week. Mr. Black, how's your week? With an S.
What did I do? Not a lot, man. It's just been same old same, really. I've been enjoying the weather, trying to get out as much as possible. At the very least, sitting on the back deck, backyard, doing something.
Somewhere with shade.
Yeah, I've been, I've been basically just trying to get off streaming by like 3 p.m., 4 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And that way I have like a few hours to enjoy. So yeah, that's been my last couple of weeks. No major things or anything like that.
Nothing wrong with that. Well, my last week or 2 weeks were interesting insofar as that we unfortunately lost Novanan, my grandmother who lived with my mom and dad here since I was just getting out of high school. She's been here for, oh my lord, I mean, like, what does that make that? I'm getting old now.
Time.
That's many years. I don't even want to do the math. It's more than 10. And that scares me because it's been more than a decade now. But yeah, long time. Thankfully, pain-free, just kind of drifted off, sedated for the most part. She was in some discomfort ahead of time. She was 99 years old. She had 7 years worth of heart failure. Probably should have passed away 5 or 6 times by now. And as she kept saying jokingly, she said, "I'm pretty sure God forgot I'm here. I'm here. Everyone else is gone. All my friends are gone. Everyone else is gone. I've been sitting here waiting, and he just forget I've been here." But yeah, we were looking out for the last couple days before, where it was looking like we were up on the end of her, and she was starting to have. Organs were just not doing their thing anymore, and so she was sleeping a lot, and for the first time ever that I can think of, other than one other time where she had a very high fever, she was confused when she was speaking. She was a little confused. She kept thinking it was 3 o'clock in the morning. She was like, "I just want to sleep." She's looking at me. I walked in the room. She's like, "I just want to go to sleep. Your mom and dad keep me up. I just want to sleep." And it was 10 o'clock at night or something like that. She came out of that like the day after for a brief time, but we had to start giving her meds to keep her pain down. It was basically just once that happens, they're so sedated you can't speak. She was awake for short periods of time, and her vision kind of got blurry, so it'd take her a while to see who was in front of her. She could still kind of make it out, figure out who you were. She said a couple of words. This is like the storybook ending. She said like the perfect little ending for my Uncle John. Got to say a little something to Mom, my Aunt Colleen, so all 3 kids were there. She got the little last message into absolutely everyone there. The last words to Marcel was, "You're pretty." The last words to me were the thing that like every time I go into the room, she hasn't been able to hear my voice for a few years now, probably 2.5, 3. Marcel was the only one she could actually occasionally hear. She was lip reading for everyone else. And so she couldn't hear me, so I'd always go in the before I left the room, I'd make a little heart shape and I'd open my arms, because we always used to say "love you big" is like what we say in the family, and she'd say, "Oh, big, 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 big," and she couldn't lift her arms, but she'd say that. And so in her last thing, she said, big was all she'd get out at that point, and then after that she was just sedated. We were very blessed. We had the doctor nurse situation in this province is dog shit right now, so we are incredibly blessed. For years, her doctor came out of retirement and drove here from Hubbard's for years at any point in the day, night, whenever, to take care of Nan. Continued to do that right up until the day before she passed, and then of course we had Marcel here, and we couldn't get the VON in to get Nan her like intravenous pain meds. They didn't respond back. It could have been days. She was like, if we didn't have Marcel contact a mutual friend of ours who also works at the hospital, he's a nurse there. He got the butterfly, which is that, that stays in your arm, and then you can just inject that way, because Nan didn't have any weight on her, so injecting her over and over again was like not really an option. So if we didn't have him jack some shit from the hospital, and then I picked him up and came in, and he hooked her up with the butterfly, and then literally as he's leaving the house, Nan's doctor was entering. They had a little conversation over what he just did to set her up, and then that doctor set up like several vials and wrote on them what each one of them were, so that Mom could just, whenever needed, just poke it in and do the thing. And so we're literally, an entire village came together to make it a storybook ending for Nan, and we couldn't be any more blessed because of it. And to top it all off, in no more poetic fashion, Mom was the one looking over her when she passed. Em and I were with her until about 4:30 in the morning. I ended my stream and went upstairs. And Em and I were there looking over the whole time. And at that point, if you've ever been with somebody, breathing gets labored, and there's large periods where there's no breathing, and then they're gasping, and that had been that way for about a day. And Em and I were checking over, and Em looked at me, and Em was like, "I'm pretty sure this is if she makes it past tomorrow, it will be impressive." So like, okay, so, don't say anything to Mom. You knock on the door to change the guard. Mom comes in after she got a couple hours of sleep is what we were doing. And she was the one. 2 hours later, Nan was gone. Mom was there. And so couldn't have been better in that regard. Very lucky in that regard. Sad, but we were happy that it went the way that it did. And I'm happy that she's no longer bedridden, because that was the worst part for me watching her, because her brain was 100% there the whole way until the very end. All of her memory was there, all of her ability to hold conversation, everything was all there. And so, when you're in that situation and bedridden and you're sleeping like 18 hours, 19 hours a day, I was just happy there's no more of that. And so yeah, we just got, my aunt stayed here with us for a week. They've done all the stuff, and now we've got our burial date and everything else, and we're just trying to, truck on, but thank you, everyone. I posted, and thank you to everyone who sent their condolences and everything over the last week. It's been awesome to have those messages, and Mom and Dad appreciate it. I always pass them on as well, and yeah, that was basically my week. Between that, it was just several days of handling and being there for Mom and my uncle and my aunt, and now we're kind of now we're just trying to figure out how to keep Mom from not being bored. After this long, every day, she had a routine for like 13, 14 years of literally like every hour, every minute was mapped out, and now it's not. Now we have to find a way to keep her busy, because, if she sits down for too long, that's never a good thing. So, yeah, that was it. But we're doing well, and that's that. So now, with the sappy stuff out of the way, it's time to talk about some video games. Mr. Blank, you ready to talk about some video games? I know you really missed it last week, so now we gotta make up for it. I know last week you were like, damn, we're not talking about games. I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself. All this spare time not hearing Adam talk about games. Well, let me bring that back and make your day just that much better. Following the Gong Show launch of Cyberpunk 2077, and Gong Show might be the lightest form of flattery that I could give Cyberpunk 2077 on launch, CD Projekt Red stock has dropped 75% from roughly $450 in August of 2020 to $93 in July this month of 2022. That's a steep decline. Hopefully some people got out before that fell off the face of the earth. But hey, look, you know what? I'm not a financial advisor. But they haven't folded. They got more games coming, and if one game does even remotely well, that number going to go up a lot, because people have already seen it hit 450. So they'll just keep buying it up. That number just going to keep going up. Or they could fuck it up again, ruin Keanu Reeves' career a second time, and then bomb out entirely. That's entirely possible too. One way or the other. It's a gamble. You just don't know what's going to happen. The UK government recently reminded the video game industry that unless it wants to face harsh legislative action, it needs to start making more serious moves to tackle loot boxes and other gacha-like and in-game purchases. They believe not nearly enough is being done to protect children specifically, and to be honest, they're not wrong. No. They're not wrong. They've been giving the companies over there a while. We've talked about it before, like with Overwatch. I mean, Overwatch 2 has gotten rid of loot boxes entirely now. And FIFA faces the steepest of all challenges because EA's entire fucking empire is built on top of Ultimate Team. And so if you start getting rid of Ultimate Team, you look like $1 billion of that company just evaporates in thin air. So they're going to have to come up with something fancy. Yeah, they need to, you know, I'm happy the government's over there at least putting some pressure on. Because, you know, like back in StarCraft Lag TV days, hashtag for the kids. You can't be having these kids out here literally just gambling at 7, 8, 9 years old, especially mom and dad's credit card. It's a little too easy to make all that happen. There should probably be a little bit more than an age gate that says, hey, I need you to be truthful with me, Mr. Black. How old are you? Input your date, the date of your birth on this form. Don't put July 1st or January 1st, 1980. Nobody believes you. You gotta be honest with me. We gotta be able to do better than that. That's the world's shittiest. That's the world's shittiest. That's like if you're just about to, like if you walk up to a store, jewelry store, and they got a guy at the front, and the guy says, hey, I need you to be honest with me. You gonna rob this place today? Like, no. Okay. Just walk around. Surprise! I'm here for your jewels! Hand them over. YouTube updated their Content ID claim process, making it so that when you appeal a claim, the claimant has to respond within 7 days now, instead of 30, which is a dramatic increase in the expediency of which they have to actually respond. This is great news, honestly. I mean, it is good. The problem is that the first 7 days are still the most, like, that's where you make your money days on pretty much any video that doesn't magically go viral 2 months after you've posted it, and the algorithm sends it to the moon. Most of that revenue happens in the first probably 72 hours for the vast majority of videos on the platform. So while this is obviously better by a substantial number of days, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, is that until the system on YouTube stops being guilty until proven innocent, it's just not, it's just going to be band-aiding solutions over and over and over again to a problem that's way too easy to abuse. And we've seen it happen over and over and over and over and over again. And so until that can be flipped into innocent until proven guilty, oh, you're claiming copyright? Oh, show us in any way, shape, or form that you actually hold copyright. Which, if they're the copyright holder, should be a pretty easy thing to do. Just send the document over, done. And instead it's like, hey, prove you have it, even though it's like fair use or not anything at all in the video that has anything to do with that claim in the first place. Quick reminder from Nintendo. Snappy little reminder here. Came this last week to make sure that everyone is remembering or remembers that the eShop for Wii U and 3DS systems is shutting down over the course of the next several months, and we briefly touched on this a few months back when they initially announced this whole thing happening. As of August 29th of this year, you'll not be able to add any more funds to your Wii Shop, or your eShop, accounts for these two platforms. And then as of March 27th of 2023, you just flat out won't be able to purchase anything else on those two platforms on the eShop anymore. So, you know, for me, the Wii U or whatever, okay, fine. You sold like 5 of those, who gives a fuck? The 3DS store shutting down is probably going to affect a handful of people. If I had to take a shot in the dark on that, given I think it is first or second most sales of all time for any platform, handheld or otherwise. I think it's like that and the PS2 are kind of like duking it out towards the top. And at least they're giving a fairly wide window. I can't remember the specifics if they're leaving the shop up or leaving it up so that if you've already purchased stuff, you can still re-download it in the future, and they're like just stopping purchases or what. But if they're stopping purchases, the next logical thing, of course, would be not too far beyond that would probably be, okay, now we're just going to shut down everything. And then for the 9,000th time, all social media will spin up and be like, see guys, this is why I told you digital purchases suck dick. Just buy physical games. Just buy physical games.
Yeah, but I mean, at this point, even in 2022, if you're gonna buy games for your PS4 or PS5 or your Xbox or whatever,
yes, yeah,
and you're buying them digitally,
yeah,
don't have a surprise Pikachu face that in 10
they're
years
gone.
you can't access them anymore, right?
Yes.
So, you know, and it even tells you this stuff in like the terms, like that.
Oh yeah.
Things. You know, this isn't a secret. So I'm not saying don't go out and buy, like, I'm not saying run out and buy physical, but there is a chance, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 25 years down the road, that you may not be able to access the games that are on the cloud or games that you just download digitally. Do I think that's going to happen? No, but it might for specific titles. It might for, you know, if there's a licensing that gets removed or they want to sell the game on another platform and they want to get rid of it completely on another platform. Just got to be prepared for that.
Yeah, we've seen it in a couple of forms. Like, and you touched on a couple of them indirectly there. Like one of them, the music, for example, that was a problem for Forza. A couple of the Forza titles had to be taken off of digital storefronts for that reason. The licensing that they had signed the contracts ran out, and so the music was a no-fly for new purchases, new sales. So that's an example of that. And then just recently here in the last couple of weeks, of course, was Ubisoft taking several games off of Steam, taking them entirely out of people's library, not just taking it down for purchase, but stripping that shit out of the library. So, you know, there are examples. And then, of course, the famous example, of course, is Nintendo, where they like to take the physical and digital off of store shelves to resell it on the Switch, like they did with I think what was the most famous one, the Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. Yeah. And so, you know, that can happen. It's more of an exception than a rule for now, but certainly possible of happening. And I guess the crappy thing is that for like PC gamers, it's essentially impossible to buy physical anymore. Console games are still largely, if you want to buy a physical copy, you can totally buy a physical copy. But for the PC side, you know, let's say you didn't care if you were somebody, like the vast majority of your stuff in your library, who gives a shit? There's like a couple that are out there like, man, you know what? If this does go down, I'd like to hold on to this bitch. And there's just no physical, it just doesn't exist. There's just no physical option. You know, it is not a perfect system yet. Hopefully it gets more perfect in the future, but for now, yeah, like Jeff was saying, you know, it's not surprising. Just be ready, you know, be ready when they come knocking, taking your games. For those who would like to offset their savings they get by owning a Tesla, and if they own a Tesla, by the way, kind of like vegans, they just don't shut the fuck up about owning a Tesla. It's quite impressive, actually. It's like CrossFitters, vegans, and Tesla owners. If you have all three at the same time living in California, it's their entire personality in 3 items all wrapped up in one. It's impossible to escape. But if you want to save, if you want to offset that, like you're thinking, oh, I'm saving so much money. Every time I go in, I'm watching all those cucks fill up at the tank with the gasoline. I got my Tesla. Like, where can I burn the money that I'm saving here? Great news. NVIDIA is readying a 4090 Ti, allegedly, that is going to require 800 watts to power. I say that again. 800 watts just for the graphics card. Not your entire system running full tilt trying to run Crysis. No, fuck that. Just the GPU. 800 fucking watts. We're like, no joke, with the Intel chips that are coming out, some of those hit 300 and 400 watts if you're overclocking, and even just 300 watts if you're not overclocking. So by the time you have a full system right now, if you slap a 4090 in it, you might need a 20 amp breaker just to run the computer alone. Nothing else, just the computer. Otherwise, you might be tripping that shit. Somebody gonna come in, turn the light on to the living room, whole house fucking shut down. Brownout. Get that fucking 4090 Ti life. So it's just crazy. Like, remember, like, for years, everyone was, a lot of people, like, enthusiasts were buying these 1200 watt, 1500 watt power supplies that were the size of a small car. And they're like, oh, gotta have that extra headroom. Meanwhile, their computer was maxing out, their entire rig was maxing out at like 600 watts. Well, now they'll have an excuse. They can totally buy one of those now and be like, I actually need it just for my graphics card. And also, you'll be able to, to offset it if you're on electric heat, unplug your heater. You're not gonna need that shit. You just run your computer. That 4090, it's a space heater for you. You can be playing Warzone at 6,000 FPS. Your room's going to be 73 degrees Fahrenheit. It's going to feel great. Nice, comfortable weather. Even if it's 48 below zero outside, not going to matter. 4090 Ti. Shout out to NVIDIA. Apparently, though, they're thinking, like, this is weird because it conflicts with other statements where the 4000 series are going to be held back because NVIDIA is looking at the market being flooded with secondhand cards after the crypto crash. Everyone's selling their farming cards. And so NVIDIA was like, oh, maybe this isn't the time to release the 4000 series. But you know what? I'm going to assume that 4090 Ti going to cost about $6,000 fucking dollars, so they don't need to worry about that. There's only about 10,000 people in North America going to be buying one of those things anyway, so they can release it and it'll be just fine. The rest of the plebeians will have to wait for the rest of the 4000 series cards to hit and destroy their power bill in the future. That multiverse game, or multiverses, that Warner Brothers game, I think we talked about it probably 2 months ago now. As it turns out, free games do pretty well, Mr. Black. That bitch launched, and it hit, I mean, easily, as far as I know, the most played at one time fighting game of all time online, had 144,000 people, just on Steam, I think. And that's with the servers being lit on fire, apparently, at the time. Maximilian Dude was talking about how impressed he was because the servers were basically, like, half of them were not even working. They still managed to get 144,000 people, and that apparently didn't count other platforms. So, as somebody said, and I agree, as it turns out, free-to-play games, pretty good concept if you want people to play your game. Now, whether or not they stick around for very long, who fucking knows? We'll find out. We'll see how sharp the drop off is, but it looked okay. It looked pretty good. I don't know if it's gonna dethrone Smash Bros or some shit, but we'll find out if this is a successful venture for Warner Brothers, making more money on their video game than their movies at this point. And finally, in this list, this deep list, there might have been some stuff that happened today because I wrote this list last night. Full disclosure, I was at the house until about 3 minutes before this podcast started. Rockstar Games reportedly has overhauled its workplace culture to cull crunch. They don't want any more crunch if they can avoid it. As well as refocusing the team with more producers, which they historically did not like producers. They just kind of ran without too many of them. And announced that GTA 6 will feature a playable female protagonist for the first time. A Latina that is one of a pair of leading characters they say are inspired by Bonnie and Clyde. All of that sounds neato to me. So thumbs up. First female playable character. I feel like we probably could have had that a little earlier, but I'm glad we're starting now. Especially like in GTA 5, where how many playable characters in the campaign? Like fucking 5?
I don't know.
Close to it. At least there's three or four. And all of them dudes. Couldn't squeak one woman in there, but now we're getting one. And I like that they're talking about comparing it to Bonnie and Clyde. That sounds like it might be a good time. And of course, as soon as they mentioned that, half of the internet melted because now, just because they've put a playable female character in Grand Theft Auto, it's become woke. That's all it takes now. That's literally, you can have no other information about the game. You just say, there's a playable woman. And then like 1,000 neckbeards cry out in terror, "Ha! Not the woke culture coming for Grand Theft Auto! They've never said anything political ever in their games."
I won't call it woke until there's other shit that,
there's a long list of things that might be like woke.
Yeah. Put
playable female character?
That ain't it. That ain't it.
that doesn't hit the list. That doesn't qualify as woke. And so you know what? Somebody's response to like one of the people like crying about it being woke. They posted the cover art. You remember? For, I think it was Grand Theft Auto 4. The huge and like really good expansion pack. The Ballad of Gay Tony. Literally, they've already been done way more woke shit years ago than putting a playable female character. There's a whole ass expansion literally called The Ballad of Gay Tony about a gay dude. But this is the woke part. So a lot of dudes seem to be really scared of women. I don't know what the fuck is going on there. It's kind of friggin' weird. But hopefully they just keep to themselves, or at least keep to the comment section on Kotaku, and stay away from the rest of the fucking internet. And that's mostly it. I'm sure there's probably
I gotta take a
couple.
quick phone call.
Oh yeah. Go
give me
for
a
it.
sec. I'll be right back.
Go for it. All right. Is there anything? While Jeff is taking a quick phone call, let me just double check. That was an unexpected. We're literally right before selling out. Let me just double check to see if there was anything else that has creeped up on my timeline for video game news since I was over at the house today. We just poured a bunch of floor leveler in the living room because my living room and dining room could double as a Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 custom created course because in between every joist is a half pipe. All right, let's see. All the Atlas stuff. Oh, right. So there was some of that I could talk about real quick while Jeff is off taking a phone call. So, Atlas did, or somebody did, I don't know if it was Atlas specifically, but somebody did a relatively large survey of sorts, I guess, trying to figure out which Persona games, or not Persona specifically, but which Atlas games people would like to see remastered or remade entirely, as in like a remake from ground up, I guess. And as it turns out, it looks like, what was that? I believe, I don't have it in front of me, but I want to say Persona 3 Fez was the number one, and then after that, I think Persona 2. And then after that, it's getting foggy in my head. But that's not surprising, because honestly, Persona 3, out of all of the modern Personas, so 3, 4, and 5 is what at least I consider the modern ones. 3 is the one that definitely needs to be brushed up, because Fez is like the most, I guess content complete. I suppose if you want to call it that version. But then Persona 3 Portable had better combat in that you could control your characters or your teammates right out of the gate instead of having to like unlock the ability to do so later on, which is the number one gripe anyone that goes back to play 3 after playing 4 or 5 first would have is that combat decision. So that's not surprising, and I would agree. I think that's a great move. And then for me, I would say a Persona 3 remaster, where you just give the updated systems and stuff from Portable into Fez is probably fine. And then just like upscale everything so that it runs on a 4K screen and fucking call it a day. Let some artificial intelligence do some work or some shit. Call it a day. Maybe redo cutscenes or something if they need to, touch stuff up, but you don't need a rebuild. Persona 2, probably the best candidate for a proper remake from ground up. And it's been long enough. It's a relatively highly respected game from like the long-term Atlas fans, and so I suspect that might not be a bad one to choose to do an actual remake from bottom up. Also, yes, right, the Star Wars news. Fox is just feeding me stuff that right off the tip. This is great. Podcast keep going. Jeff's tip. Whatever this phone call is, quite spicy. I'm gonna have a little drink of water here. Somebody calling about his car insurance, clearly. Yeah, so the Star Wars stuff is the Star Wars stuff this week was the Knights of the Old Republic remake that was being done by Aspyr. That has been indefinitely put on pause. And it was put on pause because the team I can't remember if it was EA or Aspire themselves. I think it was Aspire themselves. Fired 2 of the lead directors. I want to say, I can't remember what they were directors of, but essentially they were 2 of the leading directors. Fired them kind of just out of the, well, it's out of the blue for everyone watching from the outside. Clearly there were reasons internally. And as soon as that happened, they just shut the project down. They said, hey, we're putting this indefinitely on pause. The company is looking for other games to make at this point, other projects. That's how on pause this is. We're stretching the definition of pause when they start looking for new games to make. It's dead. It's dead, Jim. But that's not shocking, if it did go that way. And honestly, from some of the rumored stuff that I want to say we talked about when we first heard about this remake for the podcast, the Knights of the Old Republic remake, I'm not upset. I feel like for me, the moment that people started talking about the likely reality that it was going to be the combat system was going to change, I was already checked out. One of the reasons why that game was kind of unique was the combat system. And I didn't want it turned into just like a generic fucking action game. So that's fine. If they find somebody else to do that somehow, I'd be okay with it. But I'd also be okay if it never fucking happened. At this point, it is what it is. The game, you know what? Knights of the Republic 2, or 1 and 2, really. You don't have to do a lot and make them very playable on the PC. And they still look good. They run well. They play well. Everything's fine about them. So, and it holds up, like, graphically clearly. It's not the fucking prettiest thing in the world at this point. But everything else about it holds up. So, that, if you were to go back to play it, it's not like you desperately need to have a remake to give yourself a reason to check it out. But, yeah, there you go. And now that Mr. Black is back about talking about his car insurance, we are going to... I just assumed it was something along those lines anyway. Yeah, that was the joke. We are done the game news.
Yeah, we so Kayla ended up changing the what's it called there? Smoke detector battery. And the alarm went off, but the alarm didn't actually go off. So fire department showed up. Fire truck.
Oh.
Fire department showed up. They're like,
wow.
Yeah, they're like, you got a fire? No. Okay. So yeah, so
they were. Did they check? Did they go and check them out?
I don't know. Because this happened just before the podcast.
Okay.
I was streaming.
Okay.
I'd have to ask Kayla, but she's gone to her parents or something.
Okay.
But yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Technology.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. You're just back in the nick of time because it's time to sell out Mr. Black.
Patreon.com/LagTV. Head on over there. Support the podcast. Who's what's the name of the guy with the big dick over there?
Oh man, I had it written down here.
Was it Nick?
I had it written down for this exact reason. Hold on. Zach.
Zach. It's close.
The desk is a little messy.
You could be a Zach. All right. Fucking Zach, man. Zach keeping the show going.
It's true.
So yeah, patreon.com, or you can just not give anything and enjoy the show and share it and get a job and then support
and then
us.
do it.
And then do it.
Yeah. That's fine.
So yeah, head on over there. Another way to support the podcast is to get a subscription on NordVPN. It's nordvpn.com/OTT. Use the promo code OTT when you get your 2-year subscription. And you get a bonus month. You get a massive discount. You get the ability to stay anonymous when you're surfing the internet. Virtual private network will keep you safe. Will mask your IP. You can use it when you're home or if you're traveling or if you're at Starbucks. Speaking of Starbucks, it costs less than...
If you can still afford Starbucks, you could do it there.
You could definitely do it there. If anybody can afford Starbucks these days. And it costs just a couple bucks a month. It is very, very affordable. Inflation isn't hitting NordVPN the way it is at your grocery store and your gas
right.
pumps. So you can head on over there. 30-day money-back guarantee, which means, try it out 30 days, risk-free. If you don't like it for whatever reason, if it's not doing it, the thing that you thought it was going to do for you, get your money back, no questions asked, within 30 days. Plus, you can use it on your Mac, your PC, your Android, your iPhone, your anything. I mean, you could hook it up to your smart TV, to your router. You can have up to 6 simultaneous devices all at once. So you only need 1 account per household, unless you got a very, very, very large family. And even then, you can hook it up to your router so that everything is masked anyway as one connection. So don't schmaz yourself. And yeah, I mean, it's a great way to support the stream. It's a great way to support the sponsor for supporting not only us, but they sponsor tons of content creators. So they're doing good. And also, it protects you. So go check them out. That's nordvpn.com/OTT. Link will be in the description, or you can just type it out there. And yeah, big shout out to Nord.
Let's go. I did fail to mention one thing in the video game section I meant to mention, but didn't write in. Very quick. So we did meme about this before, where we were theorizing what Sony might actually buy. I believe it was after Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard for $410 trillion, and we were like, all right, what the fuck what does Sony buy at this point? And we both agreed that if there was anything that made any sense at all, it's Square Enix. Well, as it turns out, the rumors are they're thinking about it.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. And we actually talked about it a couple weeks ago, where I said it looks like Square Enix is trying to trim the fat to prepare for a buy.
Yep.
I don't want to do a Halo thing again, because last time we did that, it didn't come out, it didn't come true. So we'll just leave it there. We'll leave it for them at home to decide if that's actually what's going to happen. And now it's time to move on to
movies and TV.
Apparently, Harrison Ford, Mr. Black, not only managed to scare him off, but also save us the pain and suffering of it actually happening in the future. Harrison Ford managed to scare off Chris Pratt from pursuing becoming Indiana Jones, telling Pratt that when he dies, meaning Harrison, the character dies with him. Just kind of left it at that. Said, hey, Chris, don't think about it. When I'm dead, Indiana Jones is going with me.
Yeah.
And so Chris said,
he probably got that in the contract.
Fine. And that's great. I don't need a Chris Pratt doing Indiana Jones. I desperately do not need that to happen. There are some characters that is very difficult to see literally anyone else doing it. I cannot for the life of me picture anyone attempting Indiana Jones other than, of course, Harrison Ford. So I don't even. I'm sure Hollywood could find somebody that would, and then I'd change my mind. But it wouldn't be Chris Pratt. I can tell you that much. He wouldn't be on my short list personally, and apparently, definitely not on Harrison Ford's short list of taking the torch out of his hands. Isn't he doing another fucking?
Yeah, it's already filmed. It's done.
What?
It's coming out, I think, next year.
How old is Harrison Ford?
In his late 70s.
He's gonna be 77, or something at this point.
He's probably 7. He's probably 77, 78. Harrison Ford. He's 80.
80?
80 years old.
Bro, put down the whip. It's over. You're 80. You're 80 years old. You weren't in particularly good shape when you were 30.
80.
Let alone 80. Holy crap. All right, well, Godspeed to him and his team of doctors keeping him going through that movie. Oh my god. It reminds me of another part here. I think how far down this list is there? It's part of another piece of the story. So Ric Flair is doing one more match this Saturday.
That's all.
He's 73. And he looks like 93. The man has...
He shouldn't be. He should not be in the ring.
He really should not be.
I
and
mean,
we're gonna get to that. I'll skip ahead to get to this point. But,
oh boy.
but Vince McMahon, I never thought I'd see this happen either. But Vince McMahon is retiring officially at the age of 77. He can finally let it go, although there is a lot of rumor and speculation around it being an early retirement because of his sexual misconduct investigations going on right now. And so,
what kind of misconduct is there? Because from what I'm understanding, he had an affair. He had an affair with somebody that he worked with. It was consensual, and he paid.
Most affairs are consensual, except for the wife or the husband on the other side.
Yeah, but it's not illegal, right?
Well, no, it's not illegal, technically speaking.
He paid this girl off like $2 million or $3 million bucks or something over a period of time, so that she wouldn't say anything. But they both agreed that it's fine, and he didn't pay it out of company money. He paid it out of his own pocket. So, I think the investigation is like an internal one, but like, it's not like he's gonna be.
Well, he's not gonna go to jail or anything like that.
No,
I mean,
it's gonna be zero. There's gonna be zero. I think he's just done. Like, I think like there's just so much.
He is 77.
Yeah, and WWE's struggling, and it has been for a while. And probably the last thing that they need is some sort of other scandal or some sort of public bullshit that's going on. And so, and let's be real here. They're 100%. Vince McMahon is still going to have a say in the WWE. He's just not officially going to be the guy. But if there's something that he don't like, if there's something that he wants done, he's still going to be a shadow leader, like a shadow CEO.
Yeah.
In the background, because he's just the type of guy that it's just the way it's going to be. And
which is
his
so
daughter
unfortunate.
And his, father, his son-in-law. I mean, they're all in one. Nothing's going to change.
Yeah, I wish he would just give it to Hunter, because like the guy ran NXT better than Vince ran the WWE for the longest time, and Vince has been kind of like out to lunch about his bookings for so long now that, yeah, very odd. And apparently, I guess I haven't looked any further into it than that, but there's $13 million worth of funds that weren't filed correctly, so that might also be part of the dealio.
$13 million to a billionaire is like,
Well, it's whatever. It's more, I think, probably the optics for the company. And so, like you said, it's kind of like a similar situation in the 90s when they were being investigated for how many of the wrestlers were on fucking steroids when they weren't supposed to be on steroids anymore. And there was like that big hole. And, there's still a number that are totally on steroids. Just better at hiding it now than they were 30 years ago. And yeah, in relation to that, and this is where the Ric Flair comes in. I said, McMahon at 77, Ric Flair at 73, scheduled to do his final match this coming Saturday at a small venue that will be available to watch either via pay-per-view or on Fight.tv if you're outside the U.S. I believe it's pay-per-view or Fight.tv in the U.S., and then outside of the U.S. it's just Fight.tv. Flair is 73 and hasn't wrestled since 2011. And so I said in my notes here, I wish him all the best. As far as I'm concerned, his last match, yeah, but how much wrestling can Ric Flair do? He does a lockup.
He can do.
Right? He can do a lockup. He can do his styling and profile and bullshit. He's going to come out in a $4,000 bajillion fucking robe. He's going to look like a wrinkly old nutsack when he comes out. He's going to take the robe off. Ric Flair's been saggy and fucked since like he was like 46. So like at 73, it ain't going to be any prettier. I'll be like, if he goes completely shirtless, I'm just going to slow clap for the shamelessness of that.
I think he will. I think he will. I think, he can't. He's there to make some money. He must be broke as fuck, man. And they're just doing him a favor.
Yeah, but. Yeah, but I get it though.
Who even wants to watch it? Like, who even wants to watch that shit? It's like, dude, you're a fucking old ass man. You're out here pretending to fight people. Like, yeah.
I think it's the spectacle at this point is what it's going to be. It's not because he's going to jump off a 20-foot ladder. I can tell you that much. That ain't going to be the spectacle. The spectacle will be, does Ric Flair accidentally end up killing himself in the ring for his theoretical last match? I mean, I get it. A lot of the wrestlers have a real, especially the guys at the top of the game, and Ric Flair is like a Mount Rushmore, right? Like he's the top 4 all time. It's very difficult for them to stop wrestling. They always want to come back. They always want to get in. They could chase the dragon, get the crowd pop. So I get it. I get why he's doing it, but at the same time, like, holy shit, I almost feel like the promoters should be at blame for this even being okayed in the first place.
100%.
It's kind of like the promoters that were like using Scott Hall when he was completely like blasted on alcohol and drugs, and they just like dragged him out to the crowd anyway and shit. Like,
he was on strings.
He's basically on strings and shit like that. The promoters just get fucking weird about that shit. As far as I'm concerned, his last match should have been the one where he was up against. It was at WrestleMania, I believe. Shawn Michaels. It's the famous clip where he's mouthing. Where Shawn Michaels mouths "I'm sorry" before he gives him the super kick, and Rick is already literally just bawling his fucking eyes out before he even eats this fucking kick, and then super kicks him. The crowd's going nuts. Shawn pins him. He's just visibly bawling his eyes out. Everyone's clapping like this is the greatest end to a career you could imagine. And now here we are on Fight.tv, 73 years old.
Yeah, and now WWE is like plus 14 now, right? They got like a 14.
Yeah, they got a little bump.
So now there's going to be blood and some swearing.
Absolutely. Did you see the promo that they cut where he basically just sliced himself to shit with a razor?
Yeah.
It was funny. The first couple of hits that they like laid on him, it sounded like Rick was just having sex. He was hitting him. He was like, "Oh,
I'm getting paid." Oh, that's a 20,000.
Oh, that was a good hit.
Yeah.
You got me. Yeah, it was pretty fun. I think he might even have a pacemaker. I don't know. The man should not be in a ring. We're gonna find out on Saturday. Does Ric Flair even get down the fucking walkway without blowing a tire and just having the whole thing fall in pieces? Find out in a couple of days. Beyond that, Netflix's CEO Reed Hastings has decided that he feels that TV, as we know it, is on the way out and will be officially gone in 5 to 10 years. What do you think about that prediction, Mr. Black? Do you think TV as we have it right now is 5 to 10 years away from being bye-bye now?
I don't think 5, maybe 10.
5 was a bold prediction. When I read 5, I was like, bro, you could... 5 years, it'd take you 5 years just to be able to, like, convince a company to start the process of shutting that shit down. 10 is probably the shortest possible window.
Yeah.
Where that could start. I could see the starting point being 10 years, but look, until there's a whole lot that's still on TV that is not available anywhere else, that millions and millions of people still go to. And until that is solved, the odds of cable companies or internet service providers that are also, telecommunications companies, drop it. It's a hot minute yet.
Yeah, no. It's going to be a long time. It's going to be a
while.
while.
What happens to pay-per-view? Does it just go to, like, digital demand at that point? Like, but then you need a computer instead of a cable?
I'm sure that there'll still be... I think, you'll probably just have to order it all. Like, maybe they'll still provide a box with basic
It's not
channels.
TV, but we still need to give you this box for this to work.
It's either that or it'll all be on the cloud. You just go on the internet and, you just order a pay-per-view. I don't know. I don't know exactly how it would work, but
Great news.
It's only a matter of time. Like, it's literally only a matter of time.
Great news. They've got somewhere between 5 and 10 years to figure it out, Mr. Black. They're very, very smart. They'll figure it out.
I think pay-per-view in general is a dying breed as well. So, I mean, who knows?
That's true. That's true. That's gonna be a tough one for the fighting community, though. Like boxing, UFC.
Well, the model will be is you pay a yearly subscription for all of. It's kind of like what WWE was doing.
Be like an all or nothing situation.
Yeah, it's like you get access to. You can probably get different levels. Maybe you can unlock 3 pay-per-views per year, or if you want all of them, it costs this much. Like, who knows, right? Like, there's ways they could do it. But that'll still take a while. But TV, I think 10 years is probably gonna be a little bit longer than 10, but you never know.
I think that's I think it's a starting point. 10 years where they're like, all right, we're winding it down. It's less and less. It's mostly like reruns and sports. Yeah. Sports is like the big thing probably propping up television right now at this point. So yeah, we'll see. But 5 years was a bold claim coming out of the guy where coincidentally, this is my next point. Coincidentally, Netflix has lost over 1 million subscribers in the last quarter, despite their huge success of Stranger Things season 4. And so I don't know if he was just projecting and saying Netflix will be dead in 5 to 10 years, but we'll find out who dies first, cable news or Netflix.
I think cable goes before Netflix.
And then lastly here, I've got the next wave of films up until like 2025 or some shit. For Marvel were announced, including, what was this for? San Diego Comic-Con, I think was when they announced most of this. Including Secret Wars, The Kang Dynasty, Fantastic Four, like for the 90th time, Thunderbolts, Daredevil, not that Daredevil, the other Daredevil, and more. They even briefly discussed Phase 6. And this is just in my notes here. I said, I'm still laughing about this whole fucking thing is being delivered in phases. It just makes me laugh. It's like I feel like I'm in a board meeting every time they do one of these things. It's like, all right, guys, we got Phase 4, 5, and 6. 4 is on the way out. We got 5 planned. 6, we've got some stuff in the pipeline, but we're not sure yet. Here's our... And then they give you a roadmap. Like, it literally feels like you're on the fucking, like, board of directors for Marvel. And look at this, a huge thing. And we know every movie, every title. They've got release dates. It's like, oh yeah, September 16th, 2093. We've got fucking Fantastic Four reboot number 15. It's phase 63 of the entire... I don't need that much information. I need to know the movie's coming out across maximum 2 years. Anything further than 2 years, my ass, forget about that shit. Well, 24 hours later.
Yeah, all of this stuff is all of the the rest of this phase. I think it ends this year, and then next year is like all of pretty much the next phase. 5. Yeah, 5.
If 4 is coming to an end, he said, I think they said, Feige said specifically, is like, it's over, 4's done. We're on to phase 5. And then they listed like all these movies.
I haven't, Marvel's fallen off for me so hard. I haven't watched, like 3 of the Marvel shows. I still have not watched the new Thor. I pretty much...
It's kind of too much content, if I'm going to be honest with you.
It's a lot.
It's just
the same thing with Star Wars. It's the same thing. Yeah. I haven't even watched the Obi-Wan show. I just don't care. Like, that's just the thing, is I just don't care anymore.
It's hard to care when you get to, you just, again, I think, again, the answer is it's too much. Like, it's hard to care about something when you're getting peppered with it fucking all the time. And it doesn't help when you know everything releasing for the next 5 fucking years on a schedule. Like, it feels like information overload. You're like, oh my God, I just need to know about one movie at a time. I don't need like 15 in a pipeline. And
gotta get everybody hyped up, man. Gotta get them all hyped up.
And you know what? The visual effects artists aren't particularly happy about Marvel either, because they've got all this content and they're just having them fucking...
they're getting reamed.
They're getting fucking destroyed. And you know what the problem is? Where else are they gonna work? Disney owns like the entire fucking industry that would use visual effects to this degree. So it's like, if you don't do it there, get fucked. I don't like when you're bidding on projects and the companies have to, like, what are you gonna fucking do? And then they come back with 1,000 different things and people. And then at the end of the day, you know what the annoying thing is for them, I'm sure, is that they get blamed for how bad the movies look. Like, oh, the visual effects look so shit in Doctor Strange this time around. Why does it look so bad? Why does it look like shit? I can, you know, like, and it's like they shit on VFX. It's like, bro, what are they supposed to do? What it's supposed to do? Have you seen how many projects they're supposed to complete in like a 4-day period? It's like impossible. You can't do that shit. But yeah, we know them all. And you know what really hit me is that none of these movies here interested me even like a little bit. The only one that like gave me a little bit of like, I'm interested, is I have a sick fascination with how Fantastic Four is going to turn out after the last couple of turns at bat. That's kind of like the only one.
I'm looking forward to Blade. Blade's going to be good. Mahershala Ali is going to be Blade. So
good choice.
That's going to be really good. I mean, obviously, I like Avengers, so hopefully Kang Dynasty is good and Secret Wars. Um, Outside of that, I can't really say there's a whole lot. Like Guardians of the Galaxy, the next Guardians, I'm interested in that.
That's the last one, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And yeah, anyway, we'll see. Get a lot of shit coming.
Did you watch anything in the last couple of weeks? Did you catch anything of note in the last couple of weeks?
No, Kale and I, we just finished, so we started a new dating show.
No.
You know, it's our thing, man. So
what is the show now? What is it now,
bro? So I didn't even know this existed. I didn't even know this existed until
Dude,
somebody.
you're
in my
dredging
chat,
up some secret shit now. You got some black market dating shows.
bro. Yes, man. So we watched Love Island season 1 of the U.S. That show sucked ass. I'll probably never watch another season of Love Island.
Okay,
right?
unfortunate. Okay.
So there's this new one. So I'm just sitting there streaming. People were like, "Yo, man, how's the dating shows?" I'm like, "Man, we ran out." So like because we're getting ready to watch season 2 of Yellowstone, and they're like, "Have you checked out F Boy Island?" I'm like, "What?" Say, come again?
Is it actually F Boy? So they don't spell it out. They actually just say F Boy.
It says F Boy. So it's Fuck Boy Island. It's a show on HBO.
No.
All right. It's an HBO show. We watched the first season. We binged the first season. Finished that in like a week or so. And it's far better than Love Island. But essentially, how the show works is this.
Why are they all on islands?
Because it's paradise, you know.
It's like,
where else are you gonna go? Are you gonna go to New York? You know what I mean?
Like, just like Delaware, just like F Boy Delaware. I don't fucking know. It's always in the islands.
And this island's actually quite nice. So like usually on the shows they'll film these shows in like hurricane season. So like the last 2 shows I've watched, it's like every scene it's pouring rain. It's like
the cheapest time that they could rent the space.
100%. 100%. Kale and I chirp it all the time, but this one is like sunny the whole way through. So the concept of this show is there's 3 single women that go to this island, and then there's like 20 single guys. and these dudes gotta fight for to win over the chick. Now
it's a sausage fest.
Exactly. So half of these guys they come in as fuckboys, and the other half come in as nice guys. And so the whole object of the show is for the nice guy to, he doesn't finish last. You know what I'm saying? So like,
come on, to beat the fuckboys. To
beat the fuckboys, right? But the thing is the girls and the guys don't know who is nice guys and fuckboys. So
it'd be so hard to tell.
And so and so sometimes it's obvious, and sometimes they'll put on a show. They'll put on an act.
Oh, okay. They play the nice guy, and then surprise, bitch.
For sure.
I've got a dick piercing.
And here's the reason why. So the reason why is if at the end of the show, if the girl picks the nice guy,
okay,
they get $100,000. They split between the 2.
Okay, all right.
The girl picks the fuckboy. The fuckboy has the opportunity to become a reformed nice guy and split the money with the girl, or continue to be a fuckboy, take all the money for himself, and then they don't date. So he goes off in the sunset with the money.
Lord. What's the incentive for, like, I guess for the nice guy, there's like way less incentive here. Like, you'd much rather just be a fuckboy.
It's with the nice guy, the girls and sometimes, So anyway, that's the concept of the show.
Okay, all right. And how have you been finding it so far? This Fuckboy Island.
We watched the whole first season. We're watching the second season now. And
you powered through that season, bro. How many episodes were in a season?
It wasn't that many. It was like there's like maybe 10. It wasn't that many.
Maybe 10 episodes. Are they 45 minutes a pop?
I think they're 40 minutes. They're like 40 minutes. It's nothing crazy. All right,
okay. Something light.
Something light. Like Love Island, that shit was like 30 episodes long, man. That shit was
true. That dragged on.
That's awful.
That's
that
true.
Shit was awful.
That's true.
But so anyway, so it was interesting. At the end of the first season, the ending was so fucking stupid. I won't spoil it, but it was so dumb.
I'm shocked that the ending of F Boy Island season 1 was a little stupid.
Yeah, it was dumb the way that they did it. Like, I just don't want to spoil it, but
oh god.
But the second season, it was almost like they listened to the fans of the show, because there were things that I hated about the first season. They would always say F boy. They never said fuck boy. Like, I never heard the word fuck once, and it's an HBO show.
You know, they're trying to keep it PG for the folks at home.
Second season, everybody's calling each other fuck boys, and it's like, you know, it's and then they made a different twist to the ending, which I think needed to happen, because the way that the ending happened on the first season, I was like, that is wrong what they did.
Was it anticlimactic as fuck?
No, like, I mean, yes and no. Yes and no. Like, it was the climax was great. It was like, oh my God, I think I love the show. I can't believe this is happening. And then they put a twist at the very end, and I'm like, oh, this is so fucking stupid. All of it's gone to waste. So yeah. Anyway,
so where do you what black market fucking place do you watch F Boy Island?
F Boy Island. I can send you where I watch it.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Dude, you need the I got some Temptation Island up on my Plex, man.
I know, yeah, but this sounds way better than Temptation Island. I gotta be
Temptation Island is so much better, man.
But it's not called Fuckboy Island. I mean, that by itself is a winner.
Fuckboy Island is pretty good, man. I'm not gonna lie. It's so fucking dumb. And there's so many fuckboys, bro. Like, straight fuckboys. Like,
I
one
can't
guy's got like
handle
a
the
fucking
name.
man bun.
You know what? I want to see behind the scenes in the boardroom when somebody pitched this fucking show. Some fucking Chad walked in the room and said, guys, you've heard of Love Island. You've heard of Temptation Island. But you know what we got for you today? Fuckboy Island.
Yes. Sells itself, man. It sells itself, dude. And the fact that they gotta fucking pretend like they're not fuckboys and they're trying their best, and then they have like fuckboy tendencies come out, and the girl's like, "Are you a fuckboy?" And he's like, "No, man, no, I'm here for love. I'm here for love.
I'm here for love. No, I'm not a fuckboy. No."
Yeah. Oh, there's some serious fuckboys, man. I'm telling you right now.
God, what a ride! All right, just the name alone sells me on how stupid that show can be.
The host is like some like fucking C-rated or like D-list chick comedian, and she's funny, but it's like, it's not like, it's cheesy, but it's like it's got like an HBO production, so like they do, so like it's like just the right amount of camp. Like, it's cheesy because it knows what it is. And I find a lot of these other reality shows
a little too serious.
It's a little too serious. They like, it's like, dude, this is cringe. This here, it was like a little cringy, but it worked because it was almost like a very self-aware 90s action movie where they like look at the screen and like wink. Like, it was kind of the same thing. Like, they knew what it was, and it was just like ridiculous. So I would rate it as like the second or third best island type. Fuckboy Island.
I like how there's a genre of island types now. Yeah. That's the, you've heard of Dark Souls, like, well, wait until you find out about the islands and how amazing they are.
So that was my what else did I do? Oh, I went and watched what did I go to the theater and watch? Oh, Nope. I went and saw Nope.
Oh, how did you feel about that one?
It was good. I enjoyed it. I liked it more than Jordan Peele's last movie, Us.
Yeah.
Didn't like it as much as Get Out, but
so it's number 2. It's number 2 on his list.
It's right in the middle. It's a sci-fi thriller. You know, it's like Signs meets
The Shining.
No. It's like Signs meets, I don't know, like kind of maybe like Chronicle. I don't know. It was a very M. Night Shyamalan type movie.
Okay.
Without a bad twist or something overly.
It was an M. Night Shyamalan movie without the M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, I mean, it's the closest thing that I could think of. Like, it was like a Quentin Tarantino meets M. Night Shyamalan.
Okay.
Yeah. So
all right.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. I enjoyed it. I can see why some people didn't get some of the movie because it was very heavy on themes, and there's a lot of imagery and different things that is used that isn't the movie doesn't hold your hand at all. And so
Very cryptic.
it's very cryptic, but when you kind of understand what's going on, like even I understood about 85% of the movie. And there was like 15% I didn't get it. So I watched a couple of YouTube videos afterwards, see what other people thought of the stuff. And once I heard some explanations on what other people thought it was, I was like, wow, okay, that is smart. But it almost it was in
Almost
part,
too smart?
It was I don't know, but it was almost just a little bit too vague. It was like there's parts where if Jordan would have just held her hands just a tiny bit or just gave us just like 5% more, it would have been like an aha moment. And I still had a couple of those, but I can see why some people are like, that ain't it. But
Yeah.
it was very cool. Give you that sci-fi element, sort of an aliens type thing. I won't get too much into it because the less you know, the better you're gonna enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
But man, it was cool, and it was one of those films that like it was set in almost just two places for like the whole film.
Oh, okay.
And so it was very focused and yeah, I don't know. You almost got transported to a place and time, and it was nice. It was good. It was beautiful. I mean, I saw it in IMAX. It was fucking gorgeous.
He doesn't seem to miss. He's 3 for 3 on this bitch. He's had because every time he's released, I think his movie's been #1 on the weekend or whatever it's released on.
He's crushing it. He's this isn't like a massive blockbuster by any means. It's not like a Spielberg. It's kind of got a Spielbergy feel to it also. But I think he's carving a good path for himself. He's like making lower budget-ish movies. I shouldn't say it's not that it was low budget, but it's not like a $200-300 million fucking crazy thing. But it's solid with some really good acting. Like everybody across the board was great. I would recommend if you guys are a big Jordan Peele fan or you're a sci-fi fan, I think this is one to check out.
Yeah, Em and I checked out. We finally had some time. We checked out Black Phone. I think that's the name of it. Yeah, Black Phone. It was like that horror film. Fucking. I think that's what it was called. Let me just double check that real quick. Yeah, the Black Phone.
Okay, I never heard of it.
Yeah. I guess the one person off the top that you easily would know, Ethan Hawke is in it.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's the one where he's like I did hear that. He's like a kidnapper or something.
Yeah.
And he's got kids and
yep.
There's some weird things that happen and
specifically around a black phone.
Yes.
The titular phone for the movie specifically. Yeah, we watched that. We watched that this week, and it was good. It was really good. Man, it was. They did. I mean, there was a lot of effort put into hitting the time period right. They did a really good job of that. Cinematography was quite good for a movie that's supposed to be a horror film. It was just really solid. Kind of like unique concepts for how they handled some aspects of the film that other horror films haven't necessarily gone in that direction before. And I liked it. You could. It was good enough that you might have some ideas about how some of the things were working, and then when the reveal happens, very satisfying. And by the time I got to the end of it, it wasn't like, when I was watching it, I was like watching it, it's a horror film, and there are very few horror films I watch that I actually give a fuck about what I'm watching because it's horror, and very few of them are good. This was a legitimately good just film all around. Really, really well done. The kid actors in it, fucking amazing.
Yeah, I hear they're really, really good.
Like, really good. Everyone did a good job in it. The music was great. Ethan did a really good job of playing his part. Very creepy. And they give you they did a good job of for Ethan's character not giving you too much information, so you really didn't know what the fuck he was gonna do. And I kept thinking, I was like, I wonder if they're ever gonna give us like a motive. You don't really ever get any information out of it, and so you have to like they give you ideas. Like I have theories.
You got to piece it together.
I have some theories, but they don't just like outright come out and be like, all right, here's a police report, and this is why this shit happened, and like there's none of that happened. But yeah, can recommend for sure. Definitely, if you're a horror fan, check it out. Yeah, I think you would enjoy it quite a bit. I think you'd appreciate how filmy it is compared to most of the horror films. I'd compare it similar. It's similar to the kind of the quality of film that like a James Wan kind of a situation or whatever in his films. And so yeah, definitely recommend checking that out. Other than that, we didn't really watch much in the last couple of weeks, and so I've got nothing else. That's kind of it, which means it's time for us to mosey on over and start up
Support
Patreon.com. So that was an interesting delivery this week. I'll mix it up a little bit,
Why not?
Tech support. Patreon.com/LagTV is the place to be if you want to financially support this podcast and help keep this train moving. $10 or more a month gets you a couple of things. Chiefly, you're allowed to ask us, very important people, clearly, questions, and we give you answers. I put a post up every week just before the podcast called Tech Support. You can ask your questions in the comment section there, and we answer as many as we can in the time that we've got. Let's see here. Oh, okay. Well, Seth is. I got to acknowledge the people with condolences. So thank you, Seth, for your condolences. He said, in honor of her, I would like to know what skill or knowledge you would choose to master from her generation. Oh my lord, she's 99 years old. There's a lot to take in there. She was through like the Great Depression and shit. So there's a lot of skills that they needed to have that we did not need to have. Well, we might need it soon. So might need to get used to some of these things. Honestly, you know what? Not specific to her generation, but specific to her, and something that I could 100% use and change about myself. I've never seen somebody who was like so constantly optimistic about everything. She never complained about anything. I'm not fucking joking. Ever. Anything. This is a person who went through like cancers and tumors and the loss of independence, like literally out of a blink of an eye, when she had a tumor grow on a nerve in the back over by her ear, so she had no balance left, and then she had forced to move in here, and then she was bedridden for fucking years and heart failure and all the shit, and having her daughter have to take care of her day in and day out, and a million things are constantly happening to her, and at no point she ever complained. Maintained her sense of humor, didn't bitch, whine, and moan, and if there's something I'm good at, it's the opposite. It's bitch, whine, and moaning about literally everything, 24 hours a day. Made a career, for God's sake, at a bitch, whine, and moaning. So, if there was anything, that would probably be the number one thing that I could learn, is perspective. She always talked about perspective, and keep perspective, and so that's probably the one for sure. I know, I'll bounce this to you. I know you were close to your one of your grandmothers as well. I remember growing up. What's one thing that you'd like to take on from her if you haven't already managed to attempt to do so? I feel like you're the same as me. We're probably both hopeless in comparisons to our grandmothers.
Well, my grandmother bitched a lot.
Oh, did she?
So she was the opposite of.
Okay.
And so she was.
I can do that.
Yeah, she didn't give a fuck. She didn't fuck around. I would say, I mean, my grandmother was so good at many things. She was a caretaker, so she always took care of people. But I would say one thing that she was amazing at was cooking. She's my dad's side, so she was black, like, soul food. Lots of sweets.
Southern Baptist black, if I'm not mistaken.
It is Baptist, yes. And so lot of barbecue, lot of just sweets up. Like just you went over to my nan's house and it was just cakes and it was one of those things. She took great pride in it. So she would if she knew she had company, which she always did. Like her doors were always like people were always there. So she would always have like bread pudding and different cakes and sweets and candies and all that stuff. So, and she cooked everything all the time. Like if my grandfather went into the kitchen, she would literally smash him upside the back of the head to get the fuck
Not
out the
unless
kitchen.
it's my domain, bitch.
My domain. So I would say, and I'm horrible at cooking. So I would say, if I could get her talents when it comes to cooking, I'd take that.
Might be bad for your waistline, but it would be delicious all the way through.
I mean, I can't eat anything now anyway, so
that's
I'm already
true.
With her, so
that's true.
It is.
Yeah, you got no choice. Gonna have to find out a way to get around that bread pudding.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Roran, as well for your condolences. He asks, are there any TV shows that you like but can't get past a certain aspect? For me, The Big Bang Theory. I just can't get past the laugh track. Oh, that's a lot of shows now.
Yeah, I can't stand that shit.
If a show is funny, let the audience laugh on their own. Laugh tracks are real bad.
I can't stand them.
And like, not to be an old man, because not like all of the shows got away without a laugh track, but most of the sitcoms that I watched growing up, very few of them used a laugh track. They were all kind of live studio audience.
Yeah, the best two that used a laugh track that I would still watch today and enjoy is Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
And it was like a live studio audience, but obviously it was still
they injected some in there.
It's 100%.
No.
And the other one is That 70s Show. So those are the two shows, and That 90s Show is coming out, and they've got
that's true.
Like, they've got Ashton Kutcher coming back, and
everyone but Hyde because he fucked up.
Yeah, because he's all kinds of fucked. But those two. The show that I think did it the best without a laugh track is Modern Family. Modern Family is a funny fucking show.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised I haven't watched all episodes. I think I've probably watched maybe 2 seasons. I need to go back and rewatch that show from like the start because that show is fucking hilarious. And they do such a great job with allowing the audience to choose what's funny and instead of being told when to laugh.
This is the laugh.
When to laugh. And it went to show how funny the actors and actresses were in the show because they didn't use that as a crutch either. You can tell in some of these sitcoms they'll say something and they'll just kind of let the audience do the laughing, and it's almost like they'll wait for the laughing to stop
because they're interacting with them. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In Modern Family, it's just like they just know the comedic timing. They do really great stuff with the camera zoom ins at certain points, and kind of just making it feel.
It requires a lot better writing and a lot better actors on the other side to pull that off. Like a laugh track is definitely a crutch.
Oh, for sure.
Like you said, and so like if you aren't doing a laugh track, that's like hard mode comedy. At that point, you really have to know that your writing is on point, the delivery is on point, everything has to line up. I agree. That was also like a really specific era where there was a couple of really good ones. The one that I think about as well that didn't have a laugh track was Arrested Development, and that was my favorite modern like comedy show. Was Arrested Development. I think it's probably one of the funniest written shows. Like there's so many quotes come out of that fucking shit. You can't count them. Again, another situation where it was entirely reliant on delivery and the actors knowing what that timing was, how to they don't have a laugh track or anything, so that when to pause, when not to, the camera work, and then the writing was it just has to be so much better. And so I agree. Laugh track is real fucking bad.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I don't know if there's like something in shows. I don't watch a lot of like TV shows. I've got a couple of like nitpicky things. I hate it when I'm watching competition TV. I watch a lot of competitions, cooking competitions and all that kind of shit. where they switch between a camera that has like 20, they've got like 3 cameras, 24 FPS, 30 FPS, and 60 FPS. And they just at will randomly fucking like most regular people probably won't notice it, but for me it's like whiplash. Like I'm looking at 24 FPS and then all of a sudden it's like buttery ass smooth for like some whip camera fucking movement or like some zoom in on like a pot of food and it's like this like perfect 60 and then it goes back to somebody sitting there and it's just 24. It looks like a movie again. That one's a little weird. And beyond that, man. Yeah, I don't think I have too much more other than that. A laugh track is just such a great example. Like it's stuck in my head now. I can't even think of any other major examples.
Yeah, I don't really know. Like, what was the question itself? Just like what kind of gets you out of a show?
Yeah, like what? Like he can't get past the laugh track on Big Bang, which is what we leaped off of.
That's a really good one because I complain about laugh tracks all the time. I mean, for me, I would say the only other gripe that I would have is I can't go if there's say a new show on Netflix or Prime or wherever I'm watching the show. I typically, unless I absolutely know the show's going to continue, I just can't watch one season of a show. Because the vast majority of these shows they just get canceled, and I've been burned so many times that I'm just like, if it's something new and it looks good, I'll typically just wait it out, and then if it gets renewed and whatnot, then it's like my green light to go and watch it. That's why a lot of the times when I watch a new show, there's like several seasons to binge because I've just waited so long. Because I just can't get past that. Why am I going to get invested in a show if it's going to be 8 episodes and it's going to end on a cliffhanger and it never gets renewed? What the fuck was the point?
Yeah. You know, I'll add this one last quick one because it's very topical. Live action remakes of shit that should never be live action.
Good one.
Stop it, Netflix. Oh, thank you, Danish. Appreciate that, boss. What's the longest or most convoluted travel days you've ever had? I think I'm on mine right now. Apparently the rules changed about bringing a toddler into Canada, and we didn't get my 2-year-old a passport, so instead of a 2-hour flight, we got to enjoy an hour drive and 12 hours on the train with the little man, and we're arriving 3 days late. No plans for international travel soon after this, but first thing I'm doing when we get home is expediting him a passport. Yeah, I didn't hear about them changing the rules for toddlers and stuff, but that's unfortunate, to say the least. I mean, I don't know if anything will ever trump the fucking main thing. That was that.
Nothing trumps it. We've said it so many times.
Yeah, we don't even need to you know which one. It's that one. It's the fucking Bangor, Maine. No offense to Bangor, but fuck Bangor, Maine.
Fuck that airport.
Fuck that airport specifically.
Fuck that airport. Yeah.
And that like 79-year-old security guard. Let's see. Call Deer said some scientists believe we might be alone in the universe because of the many great filters for sentient and intelligent life. One of the great filters being, if they are sentient and smart, the question is, do they want to even leave home? This makes humanity the only ones who might actually want to leave their home, and that terrifies scientists. Why do you think being the only ones would be a scary thing? Well, I think on a grand scale, a lot of people aren't comfortable with the idea of just being alone in a giant, vast, open fucking black space. Seems to be a pretty common, common thing. If you were to reduce it and just put one person in a pitch black room with nobody else around them, gets a little bit fucking crazy. People literally lose their minds doing that shit. So, for scientists, though, I don't know why it would be creeping them out. That's weird. I don't know. Honestly, for me, when it comes to like the whole like are we alone in the universe thing, I feel like I don't know which of the two responses there'd be a greater amount of ego. Is there more ego in saying that humans are the only fucking form of life with the amount of sentience and intelligence that we have in the entire fucking universe, visible, and that which is beyond what we can even see? Or is there more ego in saying that we know that there is other life in the universe because we ran the numbers and the math checks out? There is a high enough probability to say that we are not alone in the universe. I don't know which of those statements has more ego in it. All I know is that the one of the craziest things that I learned recently that I never even thought about, it makes sense, but I never thought about it, is the concept that the visible universe to us doesn't get any more visible because the universe is expanding, and there's a whole shitload of space that's past our visible line that we will quite literally never be able to see. And so we're in a bubble in which it's a finite amount of distance, and light can't travel fast enough to get to us. Everything we see is already billions of years old. Half the shit up there we're looking at is already long gone. And so to go even further beyond that, where we can't see and we'll never see because light won't reach us before the heat death of the fucking universe, tells me that it's a pretty big space. Whatever the fuck is out there, relatively large. And so, really, for me, I think that there would almost be more ego in saying that we are somehow sitting here talking about the 4th or 5th island show in which fuckboys and not fuckboys are getting together, that we are the only ones with the amount of intelligence to put that together and watch it on a daily basis in the entirety of the fucking universe. Seems a bit of an ego trip to me personally. I want to say there's a good shot there's some other beings out there that are also watching some weird version of the 5th, island show. And not just be us. That seems more likely to me. I don't know. What do you think, Mr. Black? Are we alone in the universe, and we're the only ones watching fuckboys in Delaware, or are we? Or is there more out there doing the same thing?
I mean, we don't know for sure, but I mean, I would wager. Yes, we most certainly are not alone. Are there other human-like people? I don't know. Who knows? Maybe, maybe
it doesn't even have to be human, just intelligent,
intelligent. Yeah, like just something that knows it exists and it wants to better itself and create technology and make their lives easier and different things. Absolutely, I do. That could be the form of mist. Could be the form of a fucking alien that we see in the movies. With the big eyes and shit. It could be, I don't know. It could be other animal-like things. It could be liquids. It could be, who knows? I would say there's a very, 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 very high probability because how big the universe is, or multiverses and different galaxies and shit. That's, we are an anomaly. Right place, right distance, right temperature, right all this stuff. But seeing how big everything is, there is guaranteed other spots and places that life can live. And this is just life that we know. There might be life that don't need any sun or any liquids or any of anything. Like you know what I mean? Like, and that is probably reality. It's probably exists somewhere. Will we ever see it? Probably not. At least not in our lifetime. I think it's cool to think about it. And I think it would be really ignorant for us to think that we're by ourselves.
For sure.
or the fact that, even if there is other life, they might not even give a fuck about us. I mean, there could be life that already knows we exist.
Well, think about
and
this.
They would be like, these guys, they might be on such a high level of intelligence where they look at us like
ants. Yeah.
Like literal ants. Like we go outside and we see a little ant mountain or whatever.
Oh, wow, that's cute. Look at them walk to and from their fucking ant nest.
I mean, it could very well be the case where they're like, we know of billions of planets that have all this different life form, but we're on such a level where like we're like God. How humans can worship a god. They could be almost godlike, where it's just like, dude, we are all powering. We can do whatever we want, and we're just so above you that you're not even on our radar. They might be looking for life that is on their level. Or we might be one of the smartest, and there might be a whole bunch of actual planets of ants or whatever. I don't fucking know.
Who knows?
Who knows? We're not by ourselves.
I just love the whole like James Webb Telescope images are so fucking dope.
Oh, that
and
shit's
then just
crazy.
And just to say, like that shit's like 13. Like the images we're receiving are like 13 something billion years. But the reality of how distant, assuming any of them or some of them would be, but whichever ones are still there, the expansion that we are at least aware of means that they're actually more like 40-something billion light years away. And that's a fucking
that was like
long way away.
That was like looking up at a grain of sand.
Oh, and that's just a tiny pocket.
That's like just a very
taking a grain of sand and holding it at arm's length in comparison to like how much of space that we could actually observe with the telescope.
It's nuts.
And then know how much is in
that one grain of sand.
And then you're like, man, come on.
Yeah, bro.
And it is there. You know what? I don't get scared. I get depressed that we'll never see any of that shit. Like, what the fuck is over there?
Yeah.
Like, that's the depressing. I would get like, I get sad. I'm like, man, that's way cooler than what we got fucking going on over here. We should probably figure out how to stop this one from burning. But at the same time, I mean, it'd be dope. You can see what the hell is going on over there. So. Yeah, it's a crazy thing, and thankfully we can at least observe it from a distance. Agent says, this one's for Jeff. I've got a 4.5-year-old son who recently started playing some stupid arcade shit on his tablet. Tell me more about how you feel about mobile games. How do I get him into proper gaming? Oh, there you go. How did you do it? Obviously can't teach him how to play Skyrim just yet, so what do I start with? I've been considering buying one of those new NES or SNES minis. Is that a good place to start? Or maybe skip the old games and start him on the PS5 kids games? What are your suggestions and thoughts? Agent doesn't want to raise a mobile game pleb, apparently. The mobile games are no-fly zone, so what would you suggest?
Well, my son is younger, so my son is just he's like 3 years, 4 months, or 5 months. So my son is playing games now, but he plays on an iPad, and we have him basically play 90% educational games, and then 10% is, him racing cars or something very simple, where like there'll be barrels in the middle of a road and it's just kind of side scroller, and he'll have to just put his finger and kind of move away from the barrels before the car crashes. This is something very simple. Yeah, where would I start my son? I would probably throw him into Minecraft, because it can still be pretty educational. In your adventure, your imagination can kind of run wild. As much as I want to say I would love to start my son on the retro, I probably won't. He'll probably end up wanting to play what his friends play and different things like that. So just kids games for whatever console it is. Maybe it would be a Nintendo Switch, something easily accessible. But at the end of the day, what's a real game to you and a real game to me is completely different to a 4 or 5 or 6-year-old. It's like it's the same with movies. There's tons of movies that I want to get him to watch, but I also understand that he's got to go through the other stuff first before I can really get him to watch real movies, or what is considered real to me. So, if your son is playing games and you got a passion for games, just celebrate the fact that he's enjoying video games. Try and get him on the educational stuff if you're not already. But yeah, I would probably go with what you said, and whatever is on PS5 or whatever, and start him small, and that's that. That's what I would do.
Yeah, like if you're trying to get him into that and into the stuff off of that. I mean, the Astros games on the PlayStation are really good and free. So they're really good platformers. They're not hard necessarily, and probably a good place to start. But yeah, I agree. You just we gotta live with the fact that our children are going to be likely hitting up anything on a mobile phone first, or a tablet, because that's what they're going to have in their hands more frequently, unless you're doing a hell of a lot of micromanaging. It's just kind of the way that it's going to go. And so, yeah, just ride it out. And when they get a little older and they're seeing you play games, they're probably at some point going to want to sit down and play games with you, and that will probably be their entry point, right? They'll want to do something like that. Oh, forgot that I had my phone on actual sound. There's a weather update. This just in, it's still hot outside. I guess it's kind of related to the space question almost to a degree. Yano asks, if you could explore any extreme place on Earth for free and without risks, like I guess death, what would it be? He said, personally, I'm going with the Mariana Trench. I'd go to the same place. Dude, the deep ocean is fucking nutty. That's as crazy. It's as crazy down there as you can have your imagination run wild for aliens in space.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna steal that as well, because if I knew that nothing bad could happen and I could go as deep as humanly possible, and I know I'm gonna survive and everything's safe and I can just go down there and observe, 100%.
I think it's like, what's the Mariana Trench, like 13 kilometers or some shit deep. That's nuts. Like, you think of how much water is above you at 13 kilometers? Holy shit. That's just a lot of water, man. Like, that's
a whole nother planet down there, man.
Literally. And you wouldn't think that there'd be anything that could live even remotely close to that deep, that much water pressure, that little sunlight.
And
yet...
And there's some crazy shit down there too, like some fucked up looking
some nightmare fuel going on down there. For sure.
Can you imagine just dropping down there? It's fucking pitch black. It's like space.
There's nothing.
You can't see nothing. No. And you got lights and just praying to fuck that something don't come up.
Brrr.
Yeah.
That's just crazy. A Dent asks, what is the most trivial thing about which you have a really strong opinion?
Trivial? Like, something that's just like whatever, but I have
it's just,
a very strong opinion about it.
Like it shouldn't be important, but you have a particularly strong opinion about it. For me, trivial and Nomura writing anything in video games at this point. So fuck Kingdom Hearts, fuck what they did with Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's trivial. I have an incredibly strong opinion on it. The only other thing other than that I can think of is that toilet paper roll. It better be on the outside, not the inside. That's all I can say. Otherwise, I think you're a serial killer.
I'm going with non-plastic straws.
Oh!
I fucking hate those paper fucking straws, man. I fucking hate them so fucking much. I went to a restaurant a couple days ago for breakfast, and they actually had plastic straws, and it made my day.
Wow.
I was like, what the fuck? I sucked on that straw. I sucked it. If you were filming me, be like, bro, what the fuck is wrong with you? I was doing things with that straw that just shouldn't be done.
And something you could not do with the paper straw.
Hell no, because that shit dissolves and breaks in half, and like, it's so bad. It's like, I get it. The environment, I get it. But there's just certain shit that, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of straws out there. At least give me the damn option, man. Would you like a plastic straw or a fucking paper straw?
Look, I feel like we're going to get better with them. Like, we're going to figure out some shit.
I hope so.
I know that, for example, the ones that I've been getting at Timmy's have gotten substantially better. Like, the early days when we first had them, and if it was in your drink for like 15 minutes, it would blow apart.
Yeah,
like, it would literally blow apart. This has been sitting in some shallow liquid now for probably a couple of days, and it's still pretty good. So, like, we're getting there. It's not ideal. I'm not a fan either. I get why microplastics is a major fucking problem, but like
it's even when you're drinking from it. So like
yeah.
If you're gumming it too much or
it just like collapses.
It just collapses. You can't get, and then you gotta like almost grab it and like kind of open it up a little bit so you can like it's almost like drinking anybody ever make like a homemade smoothie and then like you just didn't put enough like milk in it or whatever, and it's just too thick, and you're just like you're trying to get the shit out, and it's annoying as fuck. And at some point, you just take the straw out and you just start like kind of shaking it, and you're trying to get it, wolf it in. That's how I feel about those damn straws.
Imagine if you were trying to get a fucking McDonald's milkshake up through one of those paper straws.
No, you can't do it. You can't do it. You just can't do it.
It's not possible. I do always find a little bit of humor in how much of the reducing the pollution and like the plastics, the carbon footprint of like the everyday person, like how aggressive they are about that. And then you look at like one of any number of companies that easily by themselves wipe out anything that any normal like group of people in an entire city could possibly hope to cancel out in like the blink of an eye. It's just, and no responsibility there. It's always funny when it's like, whenever something happens, it is the straws that people go to first to joke about it. Like when they found out, what was it, Kylie Jenner or whatever, takes 3-minute private jet flights to avoid 30 minutes of driving, and how much fucking insane pollution just doing that flight instead of just driving in a car would be. And then everyone's like, oh, well, thank fuck I'm using a paper straw so that Kylie Jenner can take her private jet for a 3-minute drive to avoid sitting in traffic for 25-30 minutes. Like that's,
when you think about it, 25-30 minutes to her is probably,
I don't give a fuck if it's $1 billion fucking dollars, bro. I don't care if she makes a trill coming off, she step off that bit, trill. I don't give a fuck. 3-minute private jet flight. Go fuck yourself, you plastic bimbo bitch. Go spend some time on that fucking fuckboy island. You're running a train on just about every under 23-year-old NBA player. Might as well fucking do it on an island on a show so I can be entertained instead of just ruining their career instead and fucking stepping off your fucking private jet over and over again because your sister literally fucked a like B-tier performer 13, 15, 20 years ago now. It wasn't even that exciting. The video sucked. It was awful.
Wasn't a good video.
It's a terrible video.
I've seen it.
Yes. It's bad.
We've all seen it.
We've all seen it.
It's not good.
It's bad. That's all I got. It's the end of the Take It Off podcast this week, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming back, and I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves this week. We'll be back next week for more of whatever this is, and we will continue to hope that you go to patreon.com/lagtv and financially support the podcast so that we can keep the train going and continue to buy not plastic straws. Until we see you next week, guys, thank you very much once more for stopping by. Stay safe out there, and peace.
Hey, beige.